Hello everyone, it is MTEN here back with another video. In this video we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing a tier list, and this tier list is ranking the endgame weapons in Terraria 1.3.4. So this tier list covers all of the Moon Ward drops and all of the Lunar event items, like the Celestial Pillars and all that stuff. So let's get into it. This will probably change once 1.4 comes out and there'll be more endgame weapons, but if you like this format, please let me know in the comment section down below and I might do it when the 1.4 video comes out. I'm presuming most of you, if you are on this channel, would have seen my top 5 weapons video for 1.3. My opinions have changed a little bit since then, but let's just get right into it. Alrighty, so how this list is going to work is I'm going to rank these specific weapons from S to F. And just because a weapon is maybe in the D tier here, it doesn't mean that it's in the D tier for all Terraria weapons. So if I was going to rank every single Terraria weapon, all of these weapons would probably be in the S or the A tier. So it's all relative to the tier lists. For example, a D tier weapon from here would not be better than something if I was ranking the best pre-hard mode weapons, and I put something in the S tier in that list. So let's get started. The Terrarium. I reckon this is a solid A tier weapon. It is the strongest yo-yo in the game. It's very powerful, especially with the yo-yo glove. By itself, it's still pretty good, but once you have the yo-yo glove and those other, or yo-yo bag, sorry, and those other accessories, it's fantastic. Stardust Cell Staff. This is going to be a B tier for the moment. The Stardust Cell Staff is, in comparison to the Stardust Dragon Staff, it's good because it can attack multiple targets at once and it's very fast, but also it's not as powerful as the Stardust Dragon Staff, which I'm going to put into A tier, even though it can only focus on one enemy at a time despite being very fast and shooting across the screen. It can deal enormous amounts when you have enough summoning points. Up next, the Nebula Blaze. I'm going to put this in the C tier, and the thing is, weapons I'm going to put in B tier and above. They're useful in pretty much all circumstances. They're good all-round weapons, whereas C tier weapons, they're pretty good, but they're a bit iffy. It has that like lower DPS, and they're not as consistent among every single scenario. Let's go with the Daybreak. I think that's another C tier weapon. I like the stacking effect, but it's a bit fiddly. You have to have pretty good aim to use this thing in comparison to, say, the Solar Eruption or the Terrarium, that you just sort of let it flail around and do its own thing. Up next, I'm going to do the Vortex Beta. That is another B tier weapon. It's pretty solid, deals a solid amount of damage, and I'm going to put it ahead of the Stardust Cell's Staff. I think it's a better weapon. Right, next up is the Star Wrath, which I'm going to put in A tier, and this is a really powerful sword. It's great for crowd control. It's great for almost all circumstances, except for maybe underground. It's not as strong there, but you're not really going underground that often once you've got this weapon anyway. Next, I'm going to go for our first D tier weapon, the Rainbow Crystal Staff. So this is definitely a weaker weapon. I haven't used it much since they've made the changes to the sentries and how they work, but to be honest, you have to use the specific sentry armor for that, which isn't as strong as the Stardust armor, and I don't really see you using multiple versions of this over, I believe it's much weaker than these two weapons anyway. And for that same reason, I'm going to put the Lunar Portal Staff in the same tier. They're fine, as they're quite powerful just as a lone sentry, but if you're using this as your primary weapon, they're not great. Ooh, what's next? Ooh, what do I pick next? Alright, let's go with the Celebration. It's pretty solid. It's got great damage, but it's slow. It's not great in all scenarios. It's a bit of a novelty weapon. It's kind of inaccurate. Yeah, like it's just a big firework celebration thing. I wouldn't be using this over the Vortex Beta. On a side note, this weapon is fantastic against the Destroyer. If you haven't seen that video of mine where I insta-kill the Destroyer with the Celebration, go and check that one out. I'll leave a link to it in the description. SDMG for that matter, which I am going to put in A tier. Very, very solid ranged weapon here. Just solid all around. I can't really complain. Very fast, very powerful. Continuing on, Nebula Arcanum. Another C tier weapon, somewhere around here. I don't really know. Pretty consistent in quality to the Nebula Blaze. I'm sure there are ways to use this weapon well, but it's a lot less general use than some of these weapons here. You know, it's quite slow and sort of bounces around. Although it has the homing capabilities, it's just not as strong and as easy to use as a lot of these weapons up here. Up next, I'm going to go for the last Prism. Solid S tier weapon. No, you don't really get much better than it. There are videos of the last Prism on YouTube being used to take down all the expert mode weapons and stuff like that. Very crazy stunts being pulled, entire waves of events. You know, it's a very good weapon. And similarly, I'm going to put the Lunar Flare in the S tier. These two, I think, are pretty interchangeable with quality. They have no real downsides. Maybe the slow charge time of the last Prism and maybe the Lunar Flares just doesn't deal as much damage as the last Prism, and that's its downside. But they're both incredible, so no real complaints with either of these. As I said in my top 5 weapons video, both incredibly interchangeable. They're both definitely the most powerful weapon, in my opinion. Now the B tier weapon I'm going to do is the Solar Eruption. Fantastic weapon. Fantastic weapon. In fact, I might even put it there. Solid all around. It has, yeah, a little bit less range than these weapons up here, which is maybe its downfall. But, you know, it has a lot of damage. It goes through walls. It's great at targeting multiple enemies, like in an invasion type event. The BIOMES sword. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to put it in an F tier. It's a B tier for me. The BIOMES. I'm going to give it more credit than I did in my top 5 worst weapons video. That was a bit of me memeing about the sound and why I find it annoying, but I'll give it an even playing field. No sound. It is a very solid weapon. It is very powerful, insane damage, and all that sort of stuff. It is a bit of a novelty weapon, but I will be fair. Anyway, I'm calling it B tier and not A tier because the weapons projectiles aren't as accurate as a lot of these weapons here. And yeah, it's great, but it's not, I just personally don't find it to be as strong as this lot here. Even though it's very powerful, it's just not as strong. Although I'm sure many of you are fans and you'll disagree with that statement, and that's fine. Finally, another A tier weapon, the Phantasm. Very solid bow, strong all around. You know, this thing with holy arrows is pretty incredible. All the homing arrows and everything. I believe it has been patched or nerfed a little bit since it was first introduced into the game, but you know, it's still an incredibly solid weapon, and I'm comfortably putting that in A tier. Anyway, that's my tier list for the Moonlord and Lunar weapons. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. I'm sure many of you will disagree with what I've said in this video, and that's fine. Please make sure to let me know your tier lists in the comments section down below, or what other tier lists you would like to see me do. This will probably change after patches and all this sort of thing happens when 1.4 comes out. So this is what I believe this list looks like as of patch 1.3.5. But yeah, once that's all changed, this list will look pretty different most likely. Another question I have for you viewers is whether you enjoyed this sort of unscripted, rambling type of tier list where I just sort of make it up as I go, or do you prefer a more scripted tier list where I have everything planned out? I know where I'm going to put it beforehand, because this video is a bit of a mix of both. But yeah, let me know what you would prefer to see, or whether you would like me to live stream something like this in the comments section down below. Anyway, I had fun making this video. I hope you all enjoyed watching. If you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and turn on notifications for more tier lists and more Terraria content. I'm going to be making heaps when Terraria 1.4 comes out. But yeah, like I said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.